All right, let's get right into it. Today, we are breaking down the absolutely electric first half of Game 1 between two of the NBA's oldest and fiercest rivals, the Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers. The playoffs are finally here, and this historic matchup is kicking things off in a big way.
So to really get what's happening, you have to understand the history here. This isn't just another series. We're talking about the most common matchup in the entire history of the NBA playoffs. They've gone head-to-head 116 times. Just think about that. The bad blood, the legendary moments, every single game just adds another layer to this incredible story.
And then there's this number. This is the stat that hangs over every single second of Game 1. Historically, the team that wins the first game goes on to win the whole series almost 78% of the time. So yeah, the stakes are just sky high, right from the opening tip.
Okay, so let's get to the action and see how this high-stakes game kicked off, because Boston came out of the gates absolutely on fire. You know, it was tied for a second, 6-6, and then Boston just floored it. They exploded with a 9-1 run that felt like it happened in the blink of an eye. They were just clicking, getting out in transition, and you could feel the energy. Philly had no choice but to call a timeout to try and stop the bleeding. And this was the exclamation point. Plays like this monster slam from Nemias Queta had the whole arena shaking. It was just pure, raw power, and really summed up how Boston was completely dominating the early minutes. So while Boston was surging, Philly's problems were just starting to pile up. It really wasn't just one thing going wrong, it was like a perfect storm of issues that knocked them way back on their heels.
And here's the huge piece of context you can't ignore. The Sixers were coming into this fight with one hand tied behind their back. They were missing their MVP, their superstar, Joel Embiid. That leaves a massive hole in the middle that you just can't plug, especially not in a playoff game.
And to make a bad situation even worse, the big guys they were counting on to step up got into foul trouble almost immediately. Both Andre Drummond and Adam Bona picked up 2 quick fouls in that first quarter. That just completely threw off Philly's game plan, forcing them to go with smaller lineups way earlier than they wanted to. And this right here shows you the devastating result of all that chaos. Without Embiid to settle things down, Philly just looked sloppy. They coughed the ball up 7 times. And Boston, they were absolutely ruthless about it, turning every single turnover into easy fast break points. It was a brutal cycle Philly just couldn't seem to break. But you know, in the middle of this great team effort from Boston, there was one player's story that just took over everything. It was the absolute heart of the first half, and honestly, it was pretty remarkable to watch. Jayson Tatum was just on a whole other planet. And when you read a quote like this, it really puts it all into perspective. A torn Achilles. I mean, that's one of the worst injuries in all of sports. For some guys, it's a career ender. And here he is, less than a year later, not just playing, but absolutely dominating a playoff game. It's just incredible. He looked so explosive, just like you see here. It wasn't just that he was scoring, it was how he was doing it. He was blowing past defenders, finishing strong at the rim, showing off that elite athleticism that some people worried he'd never get back. He was the best player on the court, and it wasn't even close.
And his stat line from just the first half? It tells the whole story of his dominance. He dropped a game-high 21 points, just picking apart Philly's defense. And he wasn't just scoring, he was all over the glass, snatching 8 rebounds and ending possessions for the Sixers. And on top of all of that, he was setting up his teammates, dishing out 5 assists. 21 points, 8 boards, and 5 assists in one half of basketball? That is an absolute superstar-level performance. So as the buzzer sounds for the end of the first half and the teams head to the locker room, the scoreboard tells a very, very lopsided story. Just take a look at that score, 62-44. That's a huge 18-point lead for Boston. And that field goal percentage for Philly? Ouch, just 33%. They really couldn't buy a basket. Outside of a nice 14-point effort from Tyrese Maxey, nobody else could get anything going. So this leaves us with the one massive question hanging over everything. Down 18 points on the road without your best player and shooting this poorly, can the Sixers possibly flip the script and mount a comeback? Or did Boston already put this game and that crucial 78% series advantage firmly in their pocket? The second half is going to tell us everything.